This is a Hot Pie Media original.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the DNP-CD Sports Podcast presented by Oddshark. It's great to be back, brother. I'm Chad Fisher alongside my trusty co-host over here, Mr. Tony Farmer. It's great to be back, man. I had a little COVID bout.
Yeah, glad you're doing okay, man.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I did not die, which is good.
Shocking.
That's crazy. I'm here, man. I did not die. So
That's
I'm still around and kicking for all the people that, wished ill will on me or something like that. I was fine without it, without it.
We're glad you're back, Chad.
Yeah.
We took a couple weeks off. We got a couple changes.
Yeah.
We got this little
awesome.
new logo behind us. You and I are sitting in different spots, so it's got a new year, new feel to it. I kind of like it.
It's kind of weird, man. It's kind of weird sitting over here. I'm not going to lie.
I'm digging it.
But I like it, man. New logo. Check out our new logo. We got some cover art, which you're going to see if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, anything like that. It's awesome. But we got an awesome show here today, man. I'm really excited about. We got Jordan Zirm from the Checkdown. Big time Cavs reporter. We've had him on the show before. Love talking Cavs basketball. The Cavs have been probably the most surprising team in the NBA this year. It's playing lights out. Had a little bit of a little 3-game losing streak because of COVID and missing players and everything like that. Now they're starting to get healthy, starting to get all the guys back. Sitting at 21-16, number 5 spot in the Eastern Conference right now, and I expect them to move up a few more spots. They've handled Miami both times incredibly well, beat the brakes off them both times. And so it's going to be awesome to talk some Cavs basketball with him and how he sees the season shaking out for the Cavs this year.
Yeah, and an exciting team to talk about. They probably have the coach of the year in Bickerstaff on their squad, but they've also had some injuries.
Yeah.
And as you said, that they've had some illness issues as well. So it's kind of like, where is this team right now? We know they're hotter than people thought they were going to be, but where are they going to end up at the end of the season? I want to get some predictions from him, and because he's an insider and he knows a lot more than you and I both. So
yeah, and the Cavs might have 2, maybe even 3 All-Stars on the team this year, which is crazy. The All-Star game is going to be in Cleveland this year. It'd be awesome to get 2 or 3 guys into that game. But we're going to talk to him about all that stuff. Super excited about that. But I guess we should just go ahead and get right to the interview, right, brother? Let's do it, man. Let's bring in.
Oh, no, before we do, we should tell people about Oddshark.
Oh, yeah, that's right, dude. That Oddshark is our favorite site. This is what we use for all of our betting segments.
Absolutely.
And this is the reason why you want to go to Oddshark, people, if you don't know, is that if you go to Oddshark, 1, it's a free resource. That's the best thing. 2, if you go to oddshark.com, you're going to find like 8 or 9 different lines from a bunch of different sites, from a bunch of different companies, and you can compare those lines between all these different sites. Make sure you're getting the best line. A lot of people don't understand that the lines are not the same. They're not uniform across every single site. And so there's difference. There's a big difference. There's a point, 2 points is a big difference when you're betting.
Always shop around.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Oddshark helps you shop around. It's ODDSSHARK. In addition to the line movement and the line changes that you can see on there, like Chad said, they've also got awesome articles. So if you're like, hey, I like to bet, I want some action tonight, I want to watch a boxing match, UFC, something like that, but I don't really know much about it, you can read a little bit about it before you make your bet. Or what I like to do is I like to make my bet, make up my own mind, and then read someone else's perspective. Because sometimes it will reaffirm my bet. And I'm like, thanks, Oddshark. I feel even more confident going into this Monday Night Football game now. Or I'll be like, oh, maybe I should hedge a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have bet so much because they've presented some information to the table that I didn't see coming. So Oddshark, whether you're a new bettor or whether you're a veteran bettor, this is a great resource and one that we love because it's free before we even started having them as a sponsor on the show. Go to oddshark.com. You won't regret it.
All right, now let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Jordan Zirm. All right, our guest today runs the immensely popular The Checkdown. He's also written about music, movies, and pop culture for Complex Magazine. And like me, he's a huge Cleveland sports fan. We're super happy to welcome back to the show, Jordan Zirm. How you doing, brother? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, of course. Happy New Year to you guys. Hope the holidays were well and everybody's staying healthy over there, but good to be back on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm coming back from the old COVID, man. So slowly but surely getting my smell and everything like that back. But one thing that's been awesome is the Cavs this year, man. That's what we're going to talk about. They're 21-16. I was going to say they've had so many COVID issues. I thought I was going to have to suit up for a minute. I was going to have to hit up JB like, yo, dude, I can get in there and not pass to anybody if you want. You know what I mean? I'm going to take 30 shots a game. I don't give a damn. But they're 21-16 this year, which is something that nobody saw coming. They were picked to be fighting for a lottery, the number 1 pick again this year. In your mind, what are some of the biggest reasons for such a great start?
Yeah, man. I mean, well, I think it's I think it's a huge surprise to everybody. I'm out in LA and I saw them play the Clippers kind of early on in the season, a couple months ago, and they won that game by double digits. And that was really before anybody knew that, like, oh, the Cavs have a nice little squad. I was kind of like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. I think I think there's a couple reasons for their hot start. I think, one, you got to mention the being able to draft Evan Mobley and kind of being in a position to pick what looks like is going to be the rookie of the year. And his development, especially offensively, I think has been beyond what I expected, what other people expected. I think everybody thought his defense was going to be great from the start, and it obviously has been. But I don't think people expected his offense to come around this quick. I think he's now had 3 straight games of 20 points, if I'm not mistaken. So that I think is the number one, which is huge. But then I think there's 2 other things. I think, I've been a huge Darius Garland fan ever since they drafted him. I thought like he just needed some time. And I think we're all seeing that. And I think he's back tonight against Memphis, which is going to be huge. But Darius Garland kind of turning into an all-star point guard has been huge. But I think the third thing, and I think, not like Jared Allen gets overlooked at all, but his growth from last season to this season has been huge. I was skeptical of like whether he was going to be able to develop an offensive game outside of, catching lobs every now and then. Yep. And it's not like he's, shooting mid-range jumpers or like doing anything crazy, but he's just really, you can throw it into him in the post and feel good that he can get you 2 points. And his defense, him and Mobley's ability to just switch on anybody makes it easy for the Cavs to play 2 bigs together like that, because people were skeptical of that as well. And like, they are just so versatile, especially defensively, that it's really given teams fits. So I think those are the biggest 3 things that have kind of contributed to this hot start for the Cavs.
Yeah, definitely, man. His post game has been amazing this year. I never thought I would see that kind of development, especially from a guy who could be considered like a veteran in this league almost at this point, And I believe he's leading the NBA in field goal percentage too, shooting like a ridiculous above 70% or something like that. But his post game and how it's evolved in such a short period of time after signing that massive $100 million contract has been amazing. And like you said, for them to be able to play 2, actually even 3 bigs with Lowry Markkanen in there, it's been amazing. It's been revelatory for the NBA as well.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's, they have kind of gone in the opposite direction of where the NBA is going. And, that's why I think a lot of us were skeptical about like, okay, can you play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? And when they traded and then signed Lowry Markkanen, it's like, okay, what are the Cavs doing? Are they trying to outsmart themselves by doing this? But like I said, I really think that because Jarrett and Evan especially are so versatile and provide such good defense on the back end, they can kind of go in this direction because they have very modern big men. It's not like they're throwing out some like I mean, you can already see the difference between what it's like playing Andre Drummond as a big man and what it's like playing Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Like those are just like so contrasting. So they really have found a formula that works. And because those guys are so good defensively, especially around the rim, teams still haven't really figured out like what to do even when they're beating their man. It's hard to get through the trees down there, especially because Jarrett and Evan don't foul a lot. They're really good at going vertical. So yeah, they've really unlocked something, and it's fun because like you just don't see teams kind of trotting out these big lineups like this anymore. And the Cavs have been able to do it and be successful at it.
They just traded for Rondo. He was little used in LA. What kind of an impact do you think he can have? And what do you think is sort of a typical stat line, if you had to guess, an average line that he'll have from now to the end of the season for him, like per game?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think with Rondo, it's going to be, the leadership I think is going to be big. I think that's a huge thing they lost with Ricky Rubio and him going down with the injury. I think Rondo just having been around for forever, having been on multiple playoff runs, having won multiple championships, like that's a huge part of it. I think he's still a very good passer. He's never been a good shooter. I think he's shooting like 32% from the field this season. So you're not asking him to pull up from 3 as much as Ricky was or take as many shots as Ricky was. Like that's always going to be a work in progress, but he's still an above average passer. And so my hope is, we talk about like stat lines is like, okay, he's probably not going to score more than 5-6 points a game, especially with limited minutes. And, maybe there'll be some games where he gets hot from 3. He can still randomly do that. But I'm hoping that, we're getting 5+ assists from him every time he's out there,
Nice.
because that's really what they're going to need. You've seen without Darius and without Ricky, they don't have anybody that can sort of penetrate and really kick the ball out to shooters and open up the floor for Evan and Jarrett. So with Rondo, I think really all you want from him is a guy that can break down the defense, can competently handle the ball, but really just get those assists out. And I think that's where he's going to be most important.
Yeah, with Ricky going down, they just really need someone to run the offense there for that second unit and kind of dish it out. Kevin Love, obviously, we're going to get to him in a minute, but he's had an amazing season so far. Real quick, getting back to the 7-footers that the Cavs have, realistically, like 3 7-footers in the starting lineup. Do you think other teams around the league, seeing the success that the Cavs have had, are going to try and mimic that?
Well, I think it's funny because it's sort of similar to like how teams were trying to mimic the Warriors, but they didn't have shooters like Steph and Clay. You got to have the talent to do it. Now, obviously, like I think the greater effect of what the Warriors did and the Rockets too, when they had James Harden, was the 3-point shooting. Just in general, you're taking more threes. You're looking for wings that can shoot. But, unless you really have the exact personnel, you're just not going to be able to replicate those results. And I think the Cavs, it's even harder, like to be able to find, there are only a few teams in this league that have really, really skilled big men like Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic or whoever it may be. Like those aren't a dime a dozen anymore, especially in the modern NBA. So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe what you'll see is like teams looking in the draft at a guy that maybe is similar to Evan Mobley, although I don't know.
Yeah,
the next
good luck
time
finding that.
like
Yeah.
Evan. Yeah, exactly. So if you can find that, absolutely, I would try and run, those bigger lineups. But that's why it's so sort of the Cavs, sort of lucked out into this Jared Allen, Evan Mobley tandem. And I think that's pretty hard to find two guys who are as versatile as that. And you can play down the stretch and play big minutes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this changes anything in terms of team building. But again, yeah, like Evan Mobley is such a special dude, and even Jared Allen to an extent. So I think that's going to be hard to replicate.
He's such a unicorn in that he can. No one, I don't think anyone foresaw him being able to guard 3 or 4 positions in the league. And you mentioned earlier about how little we fouled down low. At one point, Evan Mobley had more blocks than he did fouls in the season. I mean, that was a good portion into the season as well. Evan Mobley is the rookie of the year. I mean, I, in my opinion, obviously, if he stays healthy. I want to ask you, though, do you think with Rubio being down now, obviously they're going to look to make that up somewhere, and Evan Mobley seems like a prime candidate of a guy that they're going to go to a lot more. You see already JB, I mean, from the beginning of the season, JB runs so many plays for him coming out of timeouts. It seems like almost every timeout the play is run for Evan Mobley. But is that a guy that you think is going to step up big time? We're going to start to see bigger numbers from him now that Rubio's down and they need a little bit more production?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think you even saw it in this last game down the stretch against Indiana. I had been wanting them to sort of, since Ricky went down and with Darius out, to just, get him the ball late in games because, he can shoot over anybody. Like he's that tall and he's got that smooth of a jumper. Like, and you saw what he did to Sabonis and he was doing some stuff down the stretch that was really impressive. So yeah, most definitely. I think it's going to be him and it's going to be Darius down the stretch in terms of when they just need a bucket and the plays that they have designed, aren't working or whatever. I think hopefully, they'll get more confidence in Evan, and Evan will have more confidence down the stretch to be like, yo, throw it to me and let me make something happen. Cause he has, he moves like a guard, he can shoot over anybody. I mean, he has all the talent in the world on that side. So yeah, I'm hoping as we go down the stretch here that they start getting him way more involved in the fourth quarters. And I think they will.
Jordan, as Chad said, there weren't very high expectations for the Cavs coming into the season, and now they have a winning record. At what point did they kind of start to make a believer out of you? Was there a particular play, a particular game, a particular moment where you're like, wow, this could actually be a pretty impressive season?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a particular game, but I think it was, they had that crazy tough schedule at the first, 10, 15, 20 games of the season. And they were not only were they close in a lot of those games, you think about, they played the Suns crazy close at home.
Yep.
And that game I mentioned when I went to the game against the Clippers, and then they won that game, and then they played the Lakers down the stretch a couple nights later. Like it was kind of early on when they were staying in these games against playoff teams and then beating some really good teams that you were like, okay, what's going on? Like this feels like more than just sort of a a fluky win here and there. And then I think when you started to see, for me, I keep going back to Mobley, but when you started to see that his offense was much further along than we thought it was going to be, that's when you're like, well, this changes, this unlocks everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a huge deal. So I think it was a combination of Mobley's offensive game and when they got through that stretch of brutal games and they had a winning record, it was like, oh, well, now the schedule is going to ease up and this might be legit.
You're closer to these guys than we are. I mean, being at the games, do you get a sense of their confidence level and their energy level right now? I mean, we got the injuries going on. We had the COVID stuff going on. I'm wondering if they're going to start to maybe get a little tighter as the season goes on, as the playoffs get closer, or are they just going to be playing loose? They got nothing to lose. Nobody expected anything of them. Do you have a sense of where they're at in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, and there's players have sort of talked about it recently. The Rubio thing was brutal. Like he obviously was a very just huge leader in that locker room, and just he was having the best one of the best seasons of his career, especially offensively. Like it looked like he was rejuvenated and having fun, and so I think those first couple of games after that were just. Yeah. As expected, like the energy level wasn't back. But I think you saw against Indiana the other night when they finally got that win and broke their, I think, 3-game losing streak. You can just see the energy and how hyped they were. And they're going to get Garland back tonight. And I think that's going to give them a huge boost. So I think it took a little bit of time with Ricky. And it's going to be a struggle not having him being able to run the second unit and sort of, come in with Darius at the end of games. But I think they still have such a great shot of making the playoffs, whether that's play-in, whether they stay sort of in the 6-5 seed where they are right now. It seems like they, emotionally they're able to kind of get over that hump of the initial shock of the Rubio stuff. And when you get Garland back in there and his energy level has been great this season too, I think moving forward you'll see them kind of come back together and really kind of make a run at this thing.
And the Cavs have experienced several injuries this year. One guy we haven't even talked about yet is Colin Sexton, arguably our best player for the last few years. I would like to know what's your opinion on what the Cavs should do with him. Do you think he's still in their long-term plans, or has Darius Garland played so well that he's expendable? I mean, we only got a few games this season to witness him alongside that lineup. And he struggled a little bit, but it seemed like he was starting to find his way, and he was a luxury at that point. You still want him on the team because he's a luxury, especially now with Rubio being down and everything like that. But what do you think the Cavs should do with him, and do you see him still in their long-term plans?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think that I still ultimately feel like they're going to end up trading him. I think because of how good the roster is and how maybe ahead of schedule they are right now, it feels like he is pretty much their only legit trade chip. He's somebody that honestly you could fetch, whether it's a pick or whether you include him in a deal that's going to get you a wing. They still need a wing, a good wing, to add to this team. So I think if you can move him for the right player, whether that's this season, whether that's, they figure out he's a restricted free agent after this season and maybe they just kind of are, a sign and trade, or there's something going on. But I do think ultimately they trade him. He is, like you said, a luxury, and it is unfortunate that he went down because I would have loved to see what he could have given this team as just let him focus on scoring finally. Mm-hmm. They've always had to ask him to do way too much because they just haven't had the talent. But I do think he is, if there is one big trade chip that they have, it's him. And I think that's really valuable to have right now. So situation's unfortunate. It's a bummer that Colin has to miss this whole season, but I do think ultimately they're going to end up moving him to sort of add to a position of need, because the guard position isn't really a position of need anymore for them. It's more so the wing. So I do think he gets traded ultimately.
And who are some of those guys? Do you think it's going to happen this year or next year? Who are some of those guys that you think they might target? I mean, I've read Cam Reddish, some other guys, and then another guy that we'll talk about later in the interview that, of course, is on everybody's mind. Will always be on everybody's mind until he retires, LeBron. That's not happening this year, but maybe in the future. But for this year or maybe around the trade deadline, who are some guys that you think they might target at that wing position?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Cam Reddish. There's been a ton of buzz about him. It seems like the Cavs have been interested in him since his draft. Mm-hmm. I think the Hawks are probably going to ask for a good amount, and I don't know if Cam is quite worth what they're going to want. But I think he is in the mold of the guys that you'd like to see them go after. Karis LeVert of the Pacers has been rumored to be a guy, and he's similar, just kind of a scoring wing. Another guy on the Pacers, Jeremy Lamb, is another guy. He's tall, can defend, he can shoot threes. That's another guy that might be looking at. I've always kind of been really interested in Terrence Ross, who's down there in Orlando, kind of toiling away, but like really good scorer. That dude can get you a bucket when you need it. And they don't necessarily need him to be a great defender because they have Jared and Evan behind him. So Terrence Ross is a guy I'd love to look at too. I think that's kind of the realm of players that you're sort of looking at in terms of who they might go after at the trade deadline, is those kind of not elite, 3-and-D kind of wings, but guys that, like, if you drop them into this team, could really, really provide like some help and really bolster this team. So I think that's kind of the category of guy they're going to look at.
I'll say my dream is Karis LeVert. I think that dropping him in on this team would be night and day. I think then you can start to see, if it happens early enough, I could see the Cavs moving up to that 2-3 line, 4 line, somewhere around there. Right now they're sitting at 5, I believe. But like you said, a 3-game losing streak, we had all the COVID issues and everything like that. Feels like now they're going to start to get a little bit stronger. But I feel like Karis LeVert would be just like a dream come true, and the guy, a wing player, a veteran presence, a guy that can score, still young enough to fit into your long-term plans, though. But I think he would be amazing, but we'll see what happens there. But the Cavs are definitely going to be buyers at the trade deadline, though, right?
Yeah, you would think so, especially at this point, and especially because, they made the trade for Rondo, but that's such a minor move. I still think they feel like they're probably in a position to, and we'll see as we get closer to the trade deadline and All-Star weekend and all that. But they're going to be in a spot to kind of compete in the playoffs. If stuff kind of holds together. So no, I think they should be buyers at the trade deadline. I don't think they should overspend just to make a short-term move, like just for this season. But I do think, like you said, like if there is somebody, like if Karis LeVert is able to be had, and that's a guy you can keep on the roster for a couple of years, then yeah, they should absolutely try to look at it. So yeah, I would definitely expect them to be buyers.
Can you talk about the job that JB Bickerstaff has done? Could he be a coach of the year in the NBA? And why does he fit so well with this team?
Yeah, he's got to be front runner for coach of the year right now, just because of what the expectations were for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had this vision of playing this bigger lineup, and we all kind of scoffed at it, especially last season when they were like, here's Andre Drummond, and they just had this weird obsession with playing big guys that didn't really fit together, like when it was like Tristan Thompson and Larry Nance and Andre Drummond, was just like, what are we doing? Yeah. But he's believed in this vision, and they finally have players that sort of fit it. And that's a huge credit to him. I think the Cavs have to get a lot of credit for developing Darius Garland, who came to the NBA with 5 college games under his belt before he had season-ending surgery and had a rough rookie year that had people questioning what he was going to be, and they stayed the course, and he's flourishing. So I think he fits really well. It seems like the player, like he just is a player favorite. Like you see the guys interacting with him on the bench, and their communication just seems like they're all in a really, really good place. So yeah, shout out to JB. I think a lot of people were skeptical about like his vision of this offense, especially with all these big guys, and he took a path and they kind of proved people wrong. So no, I think he's got to be by far the front runner for coach of the year. And it's great because, he's been an interim coach so many times and he's never really gotten a shot to just be the head coach. And now he's got an extension. Like I think it's a cool story all around, and it seems to be working out. And that's awesome for JB, who's been probably trying to get just a legit head coaching job for a long time and get rid of that interim title.
Hey everybody, we're proud to announce that the DNP-CD Sports Podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com. BetterHelp is awesome, dude, because this is the perfect time of year. It's holiday season. A lot of people go through loss or experience loss or were reminded of loss, whether that's a loved one, a pet, you know what I'm saying?
Or a Vegas contest.
A Vegas contest.
Dude, for real, this is a real story, Chad. So I started using BetterHelp because every time, I turn on the TV, I see the Raiders, I see the Cowboys, and I'm reminded of this terrible gambling loss that I had.
Dude.
So I started using BetterHelp. I've had a couple sessions with them, and it was seriously like super helpful, man. She like walked me through how like the loss that I was experiencing was actually somewhat similar psychologically, like to the loss of a loved one, like where you go through like those stages of grief and stuff.
Yeah.
It's obviously, doesn't compare in like the emotional sense of like, I'm not saying it's worse than that, but in terms of the grieving process is really similar. So it's super helpful, man. I'm digging my BetterHelp experience.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
You got something to say over there.
That's so funny, man. People are like, I've lost my dad and my cat died and my life's just not the same. Tony's like, I lost a contest.
No,
You know
dude, I lost an opportunity at $6 million.
I know,
Let's not
dude.
make light of it.
I know, but like what I'm saying though is like you had to have gone into this thinking like, dude, there's like a 1 in a 7 billion chance I'm gonna win this.
1 in 4,080 chance.
But you still have to get all the games right. So that's like even more. It's not just you against other people. It's about like,
Yeah.
So every week it's that at least. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, BetterHelp. Just if you're going through a loss like Tony, like a uncontrollable, devastating loss like Tony has. You know what I mean?
Chad would not make a good psychologist, making light of other people's losses.
This is why you got to go to BetterHelp, dude.
I'm struggling with something right now. Chad's just like, that's not a big deal. You need to get over it.
I've been through worse, that's what my slogan would be. You know what I'm saying? If, like I was a therapist or something, and I was like just trying to get like people out of this play.
Worst therapist ever.
Hey, I've been through worse. It could be worse. Okay, but seriously, this is why you don't want to talk to me. This is why you got to go to BetterHelp and get some professional licensed therapy. This isn't self-help. It's not like a crisis line or anything like that. It's professional therapy done securely online. And if you go to BetterHelp.com/DNP, you're going to get 10% off your first month of therapy, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And you can do video chats with them. You can do phone chats. You can text them. You can text them 24 hours if you want, and they're going to respond pretty quickly, which is awesome.
Yeah. So make sure you go to BetterHelp.com/DNP. You're going to get 10% off your first month. It's so awesome to see him doing so well. And after that first 15, 20 games of the season, me and my buddies were clamoring for him to get an extension. We said we were hoping it would get done by the All-Star break. So I was extremely happy to wake up on Christmas morning and see that he had been extended, because he fits with this team so well. You see him talking to the players on the sidelines. They got their arm around him. He's just like the perfect coach for this team, it seems like. And I wasn't too keen on his vision to start with when you talked about Andre Drummond and Double T and everything like that in there. But it's amazing to see it come to fruition now and actually work. And one thing I'm just happy about is being a Cavs fan, as you know, when we haven't had LeBron, the seasons have been terrible, but usually by this time I'm thinking about canceling my league pass and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can handle 40 more games of this shit. You know what I mean? So it's awesome now that we're so competitive in these games. And then, like, one thing we haven't mentioned is that how badly the Cavs were blowing teams out there for a few weeks. I mean, just beating the hell. I mean, there wasn't anything within I think they were 13-0 against the spread at one point, covering the spread and everything. Yep. So just an amazing team and a great start to the season. We're going to let you go here soon, but I want to get your opinion on, we have to talk about LeBron, of course. I'm going to give you my opinion on what the Cavs should do with him. But obviously there's already been chatter because the Lakers have been so terrible this year and so mediocre, in fact. And the Cavs have had this great start. They got all these young pieces around. That's inevitably going to happen, especially if the Lakers continue to struggle this year and even next year. What do you think is going through his mind? What do you think is going through the Cavs front office mind? The players on the team, would they welcome him back, do you think?
Yeah, I think this year it's not really in there. Like, I think it's kind of out of mind, just because I think they're probably pretty focused on this roster and developing this roster and not trying to kind of skip steps and all of that. But I think if you look down the road in a couple of years, LeBron loves a story. Obviously, he loves that's why he came back to Cleveland in the first place, to kind of write that story and win a championship. And I think, he is hyper aware of what's going on in the league, what other teams are doing. He is hyper aware of what the Cavs are doing and how well they're playing. And, I think there are people who are like, I don't want, LeBron back on this team, don't want to deal with it and all that. But I think, like, in a couple of years, if he came back and retired in Cleveland and didn't have to be, this focal point of the roster anymore, where he can just kind of come in and maybe even like come off the bench later in his years, like whatever it is, I think it would be such a cool story. I'm always going to be a LeBron fan. I'm always going to feel like, Cleveland is his city. That's where, and the team that he's most connected to. And like, having him end his career there, I think would be awesome. Especially if you can do it in a way where it's not like, you're playing him 35 minutes a night and and the drama that follows LeBron everywhere is around it. And we can kind of let the team develop. So I think that's a few years down the road, but man, I think it would be a really cool thing for him to be able to finish his career in the place that it started and the place that he's from. Like, that's a story, people can't get enough of. And I think it would be really cool. So I don't know if it's a now thing. I don't know if it's a next year thing that people are talking about this, but I think down the line, I would love for him to come back, get his jersey retired and retire in Cleveland. I think that'd be awesome. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think down the line, maybe right now I'm enjoying watching this team develop and grow so much. I kind of want to let this play out for a little bit. But yeah, maybe a couple of years down the line, I could see that happening. Last question for you, brother. I just want to get a prediction from you and then also ask you, like, what's this team's ceiling? Could you see them being like an Atlanta from last year, making the Eastern Conference Finals? And then also, what's your prediction for the rest of the season? How do you think things are going to shake out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling is they have a potential to win a series in the playoffs. Like, I really do. I think they, whatever they end up, whether it's the play-in tournament or it's like a 5-6 seed. And I guess my prediction right now would be like, most optimistically, because of the Ricky Rubio thing, I think like most optimistically, it's like the highest is like a 5 or 6 seed. I don't know if they're gonna be able to leap up into that sort of elite tier of like 1 through 4, but so you say they get the 5 seed and it's 5 versus 4, and they're playing someone like like Miami or who has been super up and down this season, or who I'm trying to think even what the standings are in terms of the 4th seed right now. But if they play a team like that, like I 100% think that they could. Sorry, I'm looking up who exactly is in the 4th seed. So
Miami is. I think they're two games up. Yeah.
You look at the 76ers, who are in the 6th seed right now behind the Cavs. If say they played a first round series and they still don't have that Ben Simmons things resolved, like maybe they don't win that one, but they'll compete in it. And so it's like, I definitely think they could win a series. Whether it goes further than that, I think that's probably they're not quite there yet. But then you start thinking about next season, and the possibilities are kind of endless there. So I guess my prediction is like, okay, they finish with the 6th seed. Maybe they win their first round series, maybe, or they take it to like 6-7 games, and we have a blast watching it, and then we kind of we go into next season feeling like, okay, they've got like a legit competitive team. So that's where I'll go. That'll be my prediction. 6th seed, and give a team they either win the series or they give the 3 seed or whoever they play a tough first round series.
Yeah, I think any Cavs fan coming into the season would have taken that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
6th seed, definitely. Yeah. I'm going to go bigger though, Jordan. I'm going to say that they're going to be a 3 seed. I think if we can stay healthy, if Evan Mobley stays healthy, you're going to see a massive growth in him. I think he's going to average somewhere around 20 points a game the second half of the season. I mean, we've seen it over the last 3. If he stays healthy, I can see this guy averaging 20 and 10. He can pass the ball as well. 3 assists. I'm going to say a 3 seed, and I think that I was going to say, man, I think they're going to be the Hawks of this year, man. I think they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think you're going to see that we're not quite on that level yet. But
Homer.
Oh, totally. I don't give a shit. Hey, I don't give a damn. If Rubio hadn't gone out, I would have almost guaranteed that they'd be a 3 seed. But now I'm going to back off a little bit, 3 or 4 seed. But I think that they definitely going to win a playoff series. I hope so, anyways. So, but
I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like, they're outside of Milwaukee and Brooklyn. Like, even Chicago, I'm not convinced. Chicago's having a great season, but I'm not convinced that, until we sort of see what they do in the playoffs, I'm not convinced that they're like heads and shoulders above the Cavs yet. Yeah. So, anything can happen. And like, I don't think Milwaukee and Brooklyn, I think would beat them pretty easily. But outside of that, you look at, Miami, 76ers, Chicago, the Wizards, the Hornets. I mean, like any of these teams, the Cavs are
match up well.
So.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So too, and they've beaten all those teams so far, save for Brooklyn so far this year. It's so fun talking Cavs with you, brother. Like it's amazing. This is my favorite team right now. Just loving watching them play. Can't wait for the game tonight against Memphis. That's a big one. Follow him on Twitter at Jordan Zirm, on Instagram at CLEVE, like Cleve Zirm, ZIRM. Also at the Checkdown, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, the Checkdown. Check that out. Awesome to have you on again, brother. We love talking NBA, love talking to Cavs. Hopefully next time we talk to you, it'll be a little bit after the All-Star break, and the Cavs are sitting pretty in a 2 or 3 seed like I predicted anyways.
We'll see.
Thanks,
care, man.
Thanks, brother. We appreciate you.
You guys having me on. Yep. And it's I mean, I'll always talk Cavs no matter how bad they are, but this has been a ride, man. Everybody should enjoy it. Everybody should watch the games and get into it, because man, they're a blast to watch.
They really are, brother.
Everybody is on the train.
They really are, brother, for sure.
Take care. Thanks again for the time, man.
Hey, brother, I think we've still got your address. We're going to send you some more. We can still awesome. We're going to send you some more whiskey, brother, too, man, if you'd like.
Appreciate it.
Still really Austin, our favorite distillery here in Austin.
For sure. We'll send you some, brother. Thanks again for coming on the show, brother. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Of course, man. Appreciate you guys.
Peace.
Take care. All right, it's the last week of the NFL regular season. I got my Sunday Fun Day shirt on because it's the last full slate of NFL games. Really excited about it. Chad, what are some of the games that you've got your eyes on?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. You caught me off guard there, man, for a second. But obviously, some of the games that still have playoffs implications. Definitely not Cincinnati and Cleveland. We know that game's done. That whole division's wrapped up and everything like that. But some of these teams still have an opportunity to move up or down in the standings.
Seating,
and so we're going to go through some of those games. What about Tampa Bay and Carolina?
Tampa Bay and Carolina, last I saw, Tampa Bay was an 8-point favorite. I think this is a great game to tease down. I like doing a little 6-point teaser on here, so Tampa Bay just has to win by 2. We talk about it all the time, how 3 is a really key number in the NFL. And so if you can get Tampa Bay under 3 in a game like this where, they're going to be without a couple wide receivers. We know Godwin's gone. We know Antonio Brown is gone. We should spend some time talking about that next episode. Poor Antonio Brown. But I think even though it's a division rival, I think that Tampa Bay will win by 3 in this game. Carolina just looked really, really terrible last week. There's some life in that defense, but that offense, after the opening drive where they actually looked pretty decent with Sam Darnold, there was just nothing there. The other game that I'm interested in this week is that 49ers-Rams game. This is a game that the 49ers win bad. They were 5-point underdogs at one point, 5.5 at another point. I've seen that line go down. It's now down to about 3.5. If you can get the Niners with the hook plus 3.5, I like it. I like a sprinkle on the money line as well. The 49ers own the Rams when McVay is the head coach, and they play really well against them. In addition, Matthew Stafford has struggled the last 3 games. People don't realize he's thrown more interceptions than he has touchdowns in the last 3 games. And so, yes, the Rams, like you said, they're in it for the seeding. They still have a chance of, in theory, winning the NFC West if the Cardinals lose. But the 49ers are the team that's more motivated. And this time of year, it's all about the motivation. We saw it last week with the Monday night game. The Browns were 3-point favorites, 3.5 at some points. All of a sudden, the Browns are knocked out of the playoffs, and the line swings through 0, and the Steelers are now 2.5-point favorites.
Wow.
And that was all about motivation. So that was Las Vegas and the bettors, of course, pushing that market. But that was a 5.5-point swing through 0 just because of that motivation factor. So if I can give you one tip for this week, it's 1, consider the motivation factor, but also know that it's baked into the lines. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about another game on Saturday real quick. Cowboys are favored right now by 7 over the Eagles. Motivation factor. The Eagles have none. They've wrapped up a playoff spot. They're not getting out. Their seed is going to be the same. Okay. Cowboys have a little bit of a motivation factor in terms of the seeding. Plus, they looked not so hot last week. So they actually want to get some momentum going into the playoffs, right? So in this game, the Cowboys have motivation. The Eagles have lost a ton of players because of COVID. So now the line sits at 7 or 7.5. So there's some people out there that are saying, that they're going to listen to this and say, well, Tony said the Eagles are without those players and there's a motivation factor, so I like the Cowboys minus 7.5. No, that's already baked. That's why the number is 7.5. That's baked into the number. So don't chase it now at this point. The time to bet that was when the Cowboys were 3-point favorites. That's the time to bet that. So keep that in mind. I do like the Cowboys tease down 6 points so that they just have to win the game by 1, essentially. I think that's a really good bet. Get a nice little teaser started on Saturday. Get yourself a win on Saturday with the Cowboys minus 1, and then pair it with another game like the Bucks minus 2. So those are the 3 games that I'm looking at, the ones that I'm most excited about for this Sunday.
What about LA and Las Vegas?
That's going to be a fun one on Monday night. 2.5. Correct me if OddsShark has newer numbers than this, but last I saw, the Chargers were 2.5-point favorites.
2.5 or 3.
2.5 or 3 in
Yeah.
some places, which is why we always like to shop around. This game is in Vegas. I just don't think that the Raiders defense is going to be able to stop the Chargers. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. So I like the over here a lot. I think the Raiders will be able to put up some points, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to stop Justin Herbert. The only way the Chargers lose this game is if their head coach, Brandon Staley, goes for it on 4th down and misses 3 or 4 times, which could happen, by the way, because he loves to do that. But straight up, I just think the Chargers are a better team. I think the Chargers are more prepared for this situation. And I like them to cover the 2.5 for sure.
What's odd is that if these two teams tie, they both make the playoffs.
If some other stuff happens.
Yeah, some other things got to happen.
They need some other things to happen on Sunday, but that is a scenario, which is pretty
happen.
wild.
Yeah. If I'm the Chargers and the Raiders, I just make a little gentleman's handshake before the game. Hey man, let's just play this to a 0-0 tie. Let's just punt for the next 4 hours,
wild.
man. Why not? You know?
Oh, the people be throwing things.
yeah, they definitely would, man.
Wow.
So those are some of the games. Is there any other games that you got your eye on that are impacting playoffs?
Those are the big ones, man.
Yeah, there's only a few, obviously, still. A lot of teams have been eliminated here. What about New England and Miami?
That's one that I'd like to tease down.
Yeah.
You know, this is a big teaser week for me. It's always a big teaser week for me. You guys know that. But if I can tease the Patriots down so they just have to win that game, it was 6.5 last I knew. So if I can tease them down so that it's just a half point, I definitely like the Patriots in this game. I know Miami obviously played them really tough earlier this year. But this is a Bill Belichick team who's seen the Dolphins once. You know he's licking his chops to get back and get some revenge here against the Dolphins and head into the postseason on a high note. I definitely like the Patriots here. I wasn't that impressed with the Dolphins' win over the Saints.
Yeah,
it didn't
like well,
okay.
That was against a terrible quarterback in Ian Book, who probably shouldn't even be in the league right now.
100% agree. And not just that, they were missing other pieces too. They were missing their tackles and some guys on defense as well. And so that win just didn't impress me. I think the Patriots are just a better team right now. It's funny, there is a scenario where the Patriots could actually wrap up the number 1 seed. The seeding in the AFC is so interesting right now with the Titans holding it. I don't know that there's ever been a more disrespected number 1 seed in my lifetime that I've seen in the playoffs than the Tennessee Titans. Consensus seems to be that they're the 4th or 5th best team in the AFC. I don't even think with Derrick Henry, people would put them in their top 2, but yet here they are. They're the number 1 seed. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play in the playoffs.
Unless it's the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, whoever comes from the AFC is definitely going to be the underdog in the Super Bowl this year, I believe.
I would think so. I agree.
Obviously, you never know what can happen. With a lower seeded teams moving on, getting hot and everything like that. One thing that's interesting about the Dolphins is the first team in NFL history to have both a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same season. That's remarkable. Isn't that remarkable?
Wild.
That's crazy as hell. They're sitting at 8-8.
That's wild.
I think they started out 1-0, and then they lost their next 7 games. Everyone wrote them off. Won 7 in a row again, or then won 7 in a row. They lost their last game last week, obviously.
Damn.
But that's super remarkable. They're fighting for the playoff lives, trying to get in at 8-8 as well. We're gonna know this time next week, man. We're gonna know who all's in, who's out, and where everyone stands and everything.
Yeah, I think going back to that Sunday night game, that's going to be fun, man. The win and you're in scenario. This is a dream scenario for the NFL to have 2 pretty marquee teams, marquee franchises playing in this Sunday night game. It's going to be wild, man. I think it's going to be a close game too. So by the way, I wouldn't be opposed to teasing the Raiders up to 8.5 because I think it's going to be I think it's probably going to be a field goal game. Someone's going to win that game tight, maybe even an overtime contest. Could you imagine that? Overtime?
Yeah.
Last game of the season to decide who goes to the playoffs?
Man.
That'd be a lot of fun.
And then the last thing, just the college football playoff, the national championship, Georgia and Alabama. Alabama, which is crazy to me, is an underdog in this. I think it seems like Vegas is just trying to get people to bet. They're a 3-point underdog, 2.5, some places anywhere from 2 to 3. This is why you got to shop around and go to oddshark.com to make sure you're getting the best number. I'm taking Alabama to win their 57th fucking national championship in the last 60 years. Jesus Christ. Like, this isn't getting old. You know what I mean? Like, they got to do something about this. I mean, it's just that hopefully NIL is going to change a lot of this stuff. We're gonna start to see some parity because it's just no fun watching Alabama win every damn year. If you're Nick Saban or Alabama fan, how do you even get excited for this shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can you even get up for winning it once again? You know, it would get old after a while, to be honest with you. It's a good problem to have, though. I wish Michigan was in that position, but
seriously,
not yet. Anyways, this is a great Sunday we got coming, man. Great Saturday and Sunday we got coming to determine who's going to be in the playoffs, what seeding they're going to be in.
For sure. I do just want to correct something we said earlier. We said the Dolphins were alive for a playoff spot. They've been eliminated from the playoffs. So in terms of a motivation factor, that's all good. In terms of a motivation factor, the Patriots are actually going to be, in theory, more motivated. It is a rivalry game, though. These are two teams that know each other pretty well. But keep that in mind that the Dolphins may be sort of lame ducks in this situation. We'll see.
That was a great interview with Jordan Zirm of the Checkdown. Always love having that guy on the show, man. He's so knowledgeable about the Cavs. It feels like I'm talking to a friend of mine, man. We get to talk Cavs basketball, and it's one of my favorite things to do right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's full of knowledge. I love whenever people come on our show and have the guts to make predictions because then it's on tape. Yeah. That's always a little scary to do. You and I do it regularly when we're talking about sporting events.
I don't care what kind of shit comes out of my mouth. I'll say whatever the hell I damn well please. I don't care if I'm right or wrong.
That is the truth. We know that. But it's cool when people come on and it's their bread and butter. It's their hot topic, and they're willing to give us predictions because we trust that information. You know what I mean? And they've got the insider take on it. So to hear him say he thinks the Cavs can win a series, that gives me a little more confidence that the Cavs can win a series. Your whole Cavs are going to be the number 2 or 3 seed.
Well, first of all, it's not crazy right now, okay, because they're only 3 games back of the 2 seed right now. And you could argue, had we not had the injuries that we had, we'd probably be in a 2 or 3 spot right now. When you lose Ricky Rubio, Colin Sexton, when you had Evan Mobley, Jared Allen were missed almost 2 weeks because of COVID. That definitely impacted their record immensely. Right now, we're at 21-16. I can see us being at 24-13, somewhere around there. And if you're in that position, we're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference right now. If that didn't happen, a lot of other teams have injuries and stuff like that. But the thing is the Cavs have beaten these teams, and not only have they beaten these teams, they beat the shit out of these teams. Okay, they beat the hell out of Washington, they beat the hell out of Chicago, they beat the hell out of Miami twice. I feel like they beat some really good Western Conference teams as well. I feel like if this team stays healthy, the sky is the limit. Even though if we can not have any more injuries, we don't want to lose anybody else for the season again. But they're bringing in Rondo, who should be playing any day now. I think that's going to help the second unit. So I think it's going to be an awesome year for the Cavs, and I could see them being. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship or anything like that, but last year a surprise team in the Eastern Conference was the Atlanta Hawks. They ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost in 6, I believe it was, to Milwaukee, but had a great season, definitely exceeded expectations. I think the Cavs can be a team like that this year. Hopefully we make a little bit more moves in the offseason so we're not having like a year like Atlanta's having right now where they're struggling a little bit. But I think this Cavs team is dangerous, man. No one wants to play this team. They got 3 7-footers in the starting lineup. They can guard all across the board. The number 3 defense in the NBA right now.
Ever since Michigan won, Chad's getting really excited about these Cavs, man.
That's all I got right now, man. That's all I got.
You got a little too excited. Hey, if you place a bet with me, I will give you the top 4 seeds, and I will bet that the Cavs will not finish in the top 4 seeds.
I stopped betting, man. I quit betting. I put all the money I had, I put all of it down. In a drunken night, I put it all down on Michigan to beat Georgia. And
don't say drunken. Don't say drunken. You were telling me you were telling me I should put my money on it too. But when you were sober.
But I also wouldn't have put all of it down. I would have saved a little bit. But I was like, you know what? If they don't win, I'm done betting, man. So I'm done betting. So no, I will not take that bet. But I'll tell you yes.
All right.
Barring injuries.
We will revisit this when the playoff seeds are set for sure. But on a serious note, though, really great interview today. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jordan's the man. Love having him on. Hopefully we'll have him on again when we're the 2nd or 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference coming into this into the playoffs here. Like I know it's going to happen. But no, man, it's an awesome interview. Love having the guy on. Great episode, man. We got a big week of NFL coming up. It's going to decide all the seedings and everything. So we helped you out with some of the numbers and lines and stuff like that. It's Tony's expertise there. So we appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for watching.
Before we head out, let's tell folks about OddsShark one more time.
Oh, yeah. Our go-to resource. You're going to find all the best numbers, the lines, everything like that. You're going to find 8 or 9 different sites. You're going to find out which line is the best, where you want to bet, put your money down. A lot of people don't know, man. If you go to OddsShark right now, you can look at the over-under. Now, that's a big difference, man. You're talking about 2 or 3 points in the over-under. Yeah. That's a big difference, man. You definitely want to go to OddsShark. Make sure you're getting the best number because you don't want to just stick with one sports betting site. You want to shop around a little bit. You don't want to stick with one particular one, and then you're giving up a point or two each game or
Yeah.
something like that. So go to OddsShark, and you're going to get all this information. And the best part is that it's absolutely free. You don't have to sign up for a membership. You don't have to pay, per week or something like that. It's absolutely free.
Free source of information. Data is everything with sports betting. It's a free source of information. So whether you're a beginning bettor or you're a veteran gambler, you got to check out OddsShark, ODDSSHARK.com.
Yeah, and so we just want to thank everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Please tell your friends about the show. You can find us online on Twitter. We are at DNP-CD Show. On everything else, we are at DNP-CD Sports. Give us a follow. Please tell your friends about the show. Leave a review. We really appreciate you guys listening. For Tony, I am Chad. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all of our other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home online at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.